And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for.
I want to see the chat blow up with energy. Like, come on, people. Let's get hype. If you're ready, let's go.
All right. How's everybody doing on a Tuesday night? My name is 12 Gage. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gage Investigative. You know, I just got on here to talk a little bit about some of the stuff going on the YouTube streets. One of the things that I want to continue to talk about are the parents of little baby Emmanuel. Today was a court day for them, and it was unlike any other court date that you may have thought of. You know, most people go, they have an arraignment hearing, and sometimes they get cut loose. Sometimes there's a bond set for them. But something different happened today, and let's see exactly what it is. Let me put this in place. All right, first of all, it says parents of missing 7-month-old child appear in court for the first time since the arrest, charged with murder. We knew that from the other day. Also, it says the parents of Emmanuel Haro, the 7-month-old child who had been missing for nearly 2 weeks. They appeared in a California court on Tuesday after they were charged with the baby's murder. So they appeared in court today, both of them. Jake Mitchell Haro, 32, and Rebecca Renee Haro, 41, were arrested at their residence in Cabazon for the murder of Emmanuel, officials said last week. The two have been charged with murder and making a false report. So, not only are they charged with murder, they also got charged with making a false police report. So you ask, what was that false police report? That false police report was Rebecca lying to the police about her son being abducted and kidnapped, which we have found out did not happen. So it says Emmanuel Haro was reported missing on August 14th at approximately 7:47 p.m. local time after his mother reported being attacked outside a retail store on Yucaipa Boulevard, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office said in a statement on August 15th. The parents appeared in court with public defenders representing the mother and the father for less than 5 minutes on Tuesday, with a $1 million bail set for both of them. The arraignment will continue on September 4th. So we got to look at that date on our calendars. We got to circle that date because it's just getting interesting for these two. Also, while the child has not yet been located by officials, he is presumed dead and authorities are now searching for his remains. And there's a lot of speculation on these YouTube streets that the child remains have been found, but the police had not released any of that information. I have not seen, other than social media posts, where that has been even stated. The police have yet to release that kind of information. On Sunday, officials conducted another search for the 7-month-old along the westbound shoulder of the 60 freeway near Gilman Springs Road in Moreno Valley, with the father of the child and cadaver dogs accompanying the detectives. That search concluded after Emmanuel was not located, the authorities stated. Back when Emmanuel was originally reported missing, his mother told officials that while she stood outside her vehicle changing the child's diaper, she was physically assaulted by an unknown male and rendered unconscious. We have come to find that that is a lie, that is not true. Yes, law enforcement is not really saying much about what they found out there or whether they found anything at all. I have yet to hear anything about that. So I'm still waiting to hear that so that I can report that to you guys. When she woke up, the child was gone, the mother said at the time, according to the officials. All this we have come to find through other avenues that this is not true. That is one of the reasons they got charged with falsifying a police report. Once on the scene, the scent tracking dogs were deployed, but the 7-month-old was not located. And look at those fancy mug shots of those two right there. Are they not a sight for sore eyes? She's 41 years old. He's 32. I didn't realize they had such a huge gap, but obviously they do. The sheriff department interviewed multiple individuals regarding the disappearance, including the child's parents. Since then, officials noted that they have conducted extensive searches in the areas of Yucaipa and Cabazon and have also served several search warrants at the Haro home. Authorities also previously said they were reviewing a large amount of surveillance video from the area of interest. So we've also found out there is video from various locations around where she specified that she got hit in the head. So I don't understand if she just didn't think that far in advance or she just didn't care. You know what I mean? In an interview with Los Angeles ABC station KABC prior to her arrest, Rebecca Haro described her son as a happy boy and begged whoever has her son to give him back to me. So, let me ask you, chat, any of you in the chat, mothers or fathers, or even have grandkids, I mean, nieces, nephews, whatever. If one of your family members supposedly was 7 months old and you got hit in the head, this is just for hypothetical. We know it's not true. But how would you react once you were pleading for your family member? Would you just say, would you please give my son back? Or would you please give my daughter back? Or would you be torn up about it? I mean, I don't know if you watched that interview with her right here. There was no tears. Please don't hurt my son, she told KABC on August 16th. The father, Jake Haro, previously pleaded guilty to willful cruelty to a child following a 2018 arrest. Whoever took our son, please bring him back, Jake Haro told KABC on August 16th. You would be saying please to these individuals that took your child? You would say please. You wouldn't be saying, you know what, blah, 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 blah. Just like Liam Neeson in Taken. He didn't say please. He says, you have my daughter. I am coming for you. So you better be ready because it's coming. And I'm coming to get my daughter. So it wasn't that nice. Rebecca Harrow is currently held at the Robert Presley Detention Center while Jake Harrow is being held at Larry D. Smith Correctional Facility, according to jail record. Both are currently held without bail, the sheriff's office said. The names of the public defenders representing the parents were not immediately clear. So, tell me in the chat while I set this other part up, what y'all believe about this case so far. Also heard that there was a possibility that the parents could somehow get off from these charges, which I don't know how that would happen, but you know, anything's possible whenever you're dealing with the state of California. It really is. I mean, it's hard to believe that they would allow these people to get off without a body, but just like everything else, you just don't ever. Nothing is 100%. Nothing is 100%. I came across this today as another creator was talking about it, of this individual that owns a pawn shop. And he saw Rebecca Harrow on August 8th, and he did business with her. So let's see. I contacted this guy on the Tierra, which basically is on the ground, you know, to talk to him about this video. What do you think their field trip was about? There could have been a multitude of things on that field trip. Um, could have been getting rid of evidence. There's a lot of things that could be happening. Well, I want to give on the Tierra credit for his boots on the ground because he is the one that first broke this case pretty much wide open. Um, he's the one that reported, I believe, that the house was burning next door, and he's the one that reported about this child going missing and everything that's happened so far. I showed some of his stuff. Um, no, she wasn't selling him that, but let's see what he does, what she was trying to sell him.
We were waiting for his arrival from out of town on business. Thank you for meeting us, man. Yes, I met. Well,
It's hard to hear because they're outside, you know.
and get, I guess, his hard drive. People are gonna say, "Why didn't I go to the police?" I am working with the police. I have a lot to lose, and I have nothing to gain. We thought it would be important to come here to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department to show you fine folks at home and give you a better understanding of the evidence that we have involving Rebecca and Jake Harrow from August 3rd, 2025.
I'm very organized about what I do. This is one of the receipts that, thanks for holding it, on, oops, the rubber band's in the way. Actually, it's perfect. August 3rd, 2025, 10:38 at 7 seconds. She actually had an appointment with Attention Teen to come to our shop. I didn't know her first name because she was like, you know, but it was, I put Lady R. Harrow, August 3rd. She did.
I don't know this guy. He's on TikTok and he's a local YouTuber, or TikToker, both, I guess. But he has been reporting on the scene. His name is Ahmed Belazio, Belizzo, and he tracked down this pawn shop owner, and he's about to show you. You might need to turn it up or put your earbuds in because it's kind of hard to hear. So y'all be sure to do that. So this guy right here in the United States flag on his shirt is the pawn shop manager, where Rebecca Harrow went in to pawn some things on August 8th.
Sell some items to me. People are gonna go, that's all. But there was a gold coin, some miscellaneous, some Trump coin, and then she did sell coins, which I mentioned to the detectives about that were like in a container of sorts.
Can we show the casing to the coin? Would that be okay? Look like some chemical agent might have stained the plexiglass.
Really windy here. There's some other coins that are inside this Manila folder. Manila. Um, I'm like this with all my guests. If you ask anybody that knows my type of work, they say he's he remembers a lot of
Very
stuff.
organized.
I don't know what this is. It may not be anything to anything,
I
but
mean,
it was this.
She went in to pawn a Donald Trump coin. One of the coins that he is holding is a Donald Trump coin. And so this was on August 8th when all this stuff um, was supposedly pawned in his store. He is the pawn shop owner. So he's showing you exactly where Rebecca Harrow pawned that that day.
was it like that when you received it?
August 3rd to
Oh, the 10th, the 14th.
okay,
Sorry.
so the 14th. That's a lot of days. This is definitely one of the weirdest things I've ever received. So it was cracked, hand sanitizer, and kind of just did one of those numbers, and then that was it. I left it alone. And I mean, like I said, I showed you on my tab.
He did show us the video from August 3rd with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department after we broke the story of the Waterman Discount Mall. And so this is our constituent Mark here. He showed us video, and my HR did witness the video itself of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department lead investigators going into his establishment and removing all the data hardware.
I'm basically playing with evidence, and it feels weird. So forgive me in any way, and anybody in the public. I get it; it's evidence. I'm not trying to. Well, basically, they can choose to do what they want with this, but it gives a time frame. Sorry to cut
No,
you
you're
off.
good.
I already just I know how social media is. They're going to attack you in every way, and it just doesn't need to be. But like I said, this is what you know. That's what totals and dates and time. I didn't know the lady, nor did anybody know her on August 3rd. So a lot of my notes, if I pull out the folder, you saw that paperwork. Some are people with just last names, some people are with miscellaneous. They just put their city and where they're from.
Can I ask you? Can you describe to us what Rebecca looked like on that day? Did you see anything in her on her face?
I told the detectives, but she did have the black eye. That's what I can tell. I can stop right.
Okay, so on August 8th, she supposedly had a black eye. So if she had that black eye on August 8th, then she couldn't have gotten a black eye on the 14th, as she stated, was the day that supposedly she got hit in the back of the head. That just doesn't add up. So if you have a black eye on the August 8th, how could you have gotten that black eye on August 14th when the child was reported abducted? You know what I mean? So yeah, keep your money to keep your electricity on. Um, I don't know if he recalls. I don't think the baby was with her at all during that time. I don't know if he mentions him or not, but we're gonna go ahead and keep it going.
There, she did have the black eye. She did have that makeup on that day, or that morning actually. Um, and for what other indicators, I have to let they know what I said. But just know that, like I said,
Black guy had entered the chat on the 3rd in your establishment.
I'll lose everything today. I'll give it all up today just so I know confidently that this is true.
You have been a voice for Emmanuel, and you have been a pillar in your
Okay, so it was the 3rd, not the 8th. I'm mistaken. So she came in to pawn that on the 3rd.
community, and welcome home. And we're thankful that you made it. I don't know what he's about to show us. I'm leaving the mic open for him. I'm not pressuring in any way.
No, you actually don't even know what I'm about to show you.
I don't.
No, he's actually. So just so you guys know, I do have cameras in my shop. Whether or not if they got anything, I don't know. So just so you guys know, that the detectives were in my shop. They had
That is the detectives there. You might recognize some of them from the from the case.
Oh, I gotta turn it around because it's the volume.
Yeah, I'll do it like this. I'll do it like this.
Yeah.
It's okay. There goes lead detective from San Bernardino. You can see them there breaking the locks, prying open the hard drives. You can see detectives throughout. These are camera motion.
So these cameras that this individual has in his pawn shop, I mean, I know you can't really tell it right there, but they're 4K quality, man. I mean, so if the police really got camera footage from his pawn shop on Rebecca Haro, then it's going to be legit and it's going to be clear.
Sensor cameras. I don't know. They're very, very good cameras. You can see they capture every single angle.
This is today when I came back real quick. I came back about 3 o'clock because I had to grab stuff. My wife was with me.
4K quality in 1080. Look at that.
See how the camera switched and it
You
went
see
back?
that? So we have multiple angles. Did investigators remove the cameras while you were out of town on business?
That's what they were doing in the video.
So you were not there, obviously.
No,
this is not today.
I was actually communicating with them through the speakers on my camera
And watching it.
and on the phone.
I got you. Investigators got whatever they need. Conclusive, hardcore evidence has entered the chat.
Pretty much.
Thank you, sir.
I do hope that this helps.
All right. So August 3rd, that individual had footage of the mother going into the pawn shop, pawning certain things. He had the coin that she pawned, and he was able to capture her on camera. There's all kinds of stuff, and here, News Nation is talking about the mom totally lying about the father. So let's see what she is saying. Be sure to be sure to brush your teeth.
We'll handle it.
It's the CEO.
Get HomeServe and we'll send a qualified contractor and pay for the covered repairs.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
What do you make of these additional charges? There was the murder charge already, but now we've also got domestic violence and making serious false complaints. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, clearly that this child has been missing for weeks, and they know now that the story that they gave that this child was kidnapped, it was a fabricated story. So filing a false police report is a crime. It's a misdemeanor, and it goes towards the ultimate case.
Yeah, if you don't know what filing a false police report is, like calling 911 for an emergency that really is not an emergency because you're actively taking up law enforcement time for something that is not true. So if you didn't know that, there's your generic definition of that.
Which the police and the DA have, which is these individuals killed baby Emmanuel, and then they lied about it and tried to conceal it and cover it up by saying that he was kidnapped, which is a false report. You also have a mom who has a black eye. You have a dad who, like you said, in 2018 abused his, one of the siblings so badly that she's permanently in a wheelchair, and she's permanently blind. And so clearly he's violent. In California, domestic violence and child abuse usually go hand in hand. Your child abuse is domestic violence. It's violence in the home. And so these are all things of circumstantial evidence that the DA is going to use to prove.
And the charges keep adding up. As you know, when somebody's taken into custody, they try to get as many charges as they can on the individual, because once you go into the indictment phase, that's when a lot of those misdemeanors and all those other little charges start falling off. So you got to make sure that you have enough teeth in the charge for it to stick.
Murder charges against both these individuals.
What do you make of the fact that Jake, the husband, was out on Sunday, and there's video of it in a very public area right next to the freeway, in the jumpsuit from the jail with police looking for the body. He apparently took police to that area, and at the same time, the wife was in jail doing an interview with a local newspaper saying, look, we didn't do anything wrong. I stand by him. He was a wonderful father. It seems like the stories are changing here. I mean, could they be turning, or could he be turning on her?
First, clearly the
I hope this statement right here doesn't come back to haunt her. For whatever reason, I believe this is going to come back to haunt her. He's a good dad. He would never hurt a baby. She doesn't say he would never hurt his own baby. She says a baby. So she's distancing herself from the potential of implementing that Jake is capable of hurting their child. She said a baby. And their wording is interesting because on the missing poster they put missing kid, not missing infant, not missing child, missing kid. So is it the fact that they don't use their their sentence structure correctly, or is she trying to just deflect the fact that he would never hurt a baby, not their baby? You get what I'm saying? Because she probably knows that he did hurt his own child in the past. So he would never hurt a baby.
DA could use that. It's going to show you that, the mom clearly is lying because, the dad's out there trying to at least show law enforcement where Emmanuel's body is. So we clearly know now mom is totally lying and she's staying with her story, even though, the dad now looks like cooperating with law enforcement somewhat. Obviously, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is doing their job and they're doing a good job. And they questioned both of the suspects. And clearly, dad told them something, which led them to take dad to this location to try to locate Emmanuel's body. However, they were unsuccessful in doing that. And so, yeah, they're going to interview the suspects. They're going to question them. And they're going to try to see if they can find Emmanuel's body and figure out exactly what happened.
But isn't it strange, Jonathan, that they took him out there and they didn't find baby Emmanuel's body? Every other time I've covered a story where they take the prisoner out of prison or out of jail and they take them to show us where the body is, show us where you hid the murder weapon.
There's a difference between jail and prison, Brian. But I get what you're saying. It is interesting that they didn't find a child out there. But the fact of the matter is, do you believe that he would have taken them to where they were gonna find um the child very quickly? Oh, I believe Taylor is on the either on Kick or Twitch, so you might not be able to see her. But thank you for being here, Taylor.
Usually they find what they're looking for. Have you ever seen anything like this where they just went back with nothing?
So out of the thousands of child abuse and sexual abuse cases that I've done, I've filed 2 no-body baby murders. And one of them, the Sheriff's Department did a great job. We tried really hard to try to locate the baby. And, the dad was somewhat cooperative. So in this case, the dad may have said, this is where of Emmanuel's body, but that's a vast desert. And so you're talking about
Exactly, Texas, especially if it was over a month ago. I mean, like we've been saying, and as morbid as it sounds, that baby could have been dropped off right there where he sang, and something could have carried the baby away. Just tragic, the whole thing.
that baby. His body's been out there for 2 weeks. It's been 100 degrees pretty much every day out here in California. You know, cadaver dogs can hit on cars or hit in apartments, but in a vast desert like that, that's really hard to locate. And a 7-month-old baby is small, and you're talking about the elements and you're talking about wildlife. So very sad, but I wouldn't say it's unusual. Also, the dad could be lying. You know, it's hard to know if he's telling the truth or not.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what
I
I'm
think they're doing
wondering.
I mean, and that's another thing that individuals fail to understand when we're talking about criminally minded people. For those of you that don't know, I do work with criminal offenders. They're juveniles now, but I've worked with adults. But one thing that criminal minded people do is lie, especially when they're about to be faced with murder charges, malice murder to be exact. You know, would you go out and say, "Okay, I'm going to show you exactly where the baby is. That way we can proceed to my being indicted and so on." So, you know, man, it's
the best they
interesting.
can.
That's what I'm wondering, if this is some kind of game he's playing to a certain extent. And he's obviously, I mean, when you read that old case, what he did to that other child and why he's out of jail is a whole nother story. The wife has got the black eyes. I'm wondering if he's taking the cops on some kind of wild goose chase here.
So the sheriff's department is going to do everything in their power to find this baby. That's what we do, medically wise, law enforcement wise. And so if he says that the baby's there, we're going to go out there and we're going to try to locate this body. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do.
Yeah, you're right, Taylor. On the Tierra, that's the guy that you're talking about. He supposedly has cancer, and one of the days he was out there reporting, he got overheated. He had to have the ambulance brought out there, to make sure he was okay. He had just had a biopsy. So, um, he's doing a lot of hard work, but he just is recovering from his own medical issues trying to find this child.
The best we can, even if we think he may be lying. If there's a part of that we think is the truth, we're going to go out there and do that. But you're right, it's a lot about control. Domestic violence is about control. Child abuse is about control. And these individuals want to control the situation, and they want to control law enforcement.
You've got a subscription for streaming movies and music, maybe even one for food. Plan from
I do have premium on YouTube, so I don't know why it's going like that with that, but let's see what this one says. Hold on a second. Let me turn it up. Let me see if I can pull up the freaking thing. Where's the toolbar? Okay. Maybe we won't hear it, but I'll read it to you. It says new court documents have revealed that baby Emmanuel Haro could have been killed as early as August 5th, 9 days before his mother reported him missing. So as early as August 5th. Um, the information emerged as Emmanuel's parents, Rebecca and Jake Haro, were formally charged with 7-month-old Emmanuel's murder on Tuesday. Riverside County prosecutors are asking that they be held in lieu of $1 million bail. Emmanuel's parents have also been charged with making a false police report. That's what we talked about earlier. After his mother, Rebecca, reported him missing on August 14th. So he could have been missing or killed as early as August 5th. And we know the story. She said she was changing a diaper in the store parking lot when someone knocked her out and kidnapped the infant. The arraignment has been moved to September 4th, and for Cosgrove, the parents have not yet retained private counsel. Rebecca and Jake Haro appear in court. Rebecca and Jake Haro were both in court today at documents from Superior Court of California County of Riverside shed new light on the charges they are facing. So listen up. Listen up to the charges they are facing. You know, other than what we're talking about now, is that investigators wrote in the court document Jake and Rebecca Haro committed a violation of Penal Code Section 187, which is murder, subdivision of felony, and that on or about August 5th, 2025, through and including August 14th, 2025, in the county of Riverside, state of California. The defendant did willfully and unlawfully murder baby Doe, Emmanuel Haro. The documents also laid out the second charge, which is a misdemeanor. So I was saying earlier, um, filing a false report is a misdemeanor, but it's still a charge nonetheless. These two are a piece of work, I swear. They're a piece of work. Yeah, I remember hearing that they were seen at Costco. I mean, the Home Depot, and then I don't remember hearing that they were at Costco, but that's interesting nonetheless. Let's see what this one had to say. $1 million bail for each of them, which is quite a substantial amount of money. You know what I mean? That's not something that a lot of people have 10% of that to give down. I mean, they could put their house up, they could put anything that they got, give that to the bail bondsman, but they're pretty much giving everything they have away in that regard. The couple had claimed their son was kidnapped, of course. In her first statement to San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office, Rebecca said she had been changing her son's diaper when she was knocked unconscious by an unknown person or persons and then woke up to discover her son was gone. She became uncooperative after deputies pointed out inconsistencies in the information being provided by Rebecca. So the sheriff deputies noticed inconsistencies and she became uncooperative and quit talking. Um, we do know that Jake was previously convicted on a charge of willful child cruelty after a 2018 incident involving his then 10-week-old daughter with a different woman. One of the doctors who examined the infant later said that her condition could have been fatal if medical attention was not sought, according to a copy of the arrest warrant. So he could have killed her. So one thing for certain is if you have a pattern of behavior, injuring a child, domestic violence with your spouse, then this is going to keep happening until you understand that there is yet a problem. And obviously, this guy thought that his ex wife was the problem and he moved on and he's done it again. The combination of the above findings in a premobile infant in the absence of plausible history of significant trauma to explain the injuries indicative of abuse, head trauma, child physical abuse, and nutritional neglect. The history of a short fall onto the kitchen sink does not explain her extensive and severe head trauma or her multiple bilateral rib fractures. So that was a story. She fell onto the kitchen sink as a newborn baby, 10 weeks old. In 2023, Jake struck a deal with the prosecutors and entered a guilty plea to a single count of willful child neglect. He was sentenced to 72 months in prison, which then suspended and placed on probation for 48 months. What kind of shit is that? Chat, do you agree with this sentence or do you not? What kind of sentence is this? You're sentenced to 72 months, and then it's suspended, and they say, "Oh, by the way, we'll just give you 48 months. We made a mistake." That is crap. He almost killed a child, a 10-week-old child. So many times these individuals could have been stopped, and the court or misfiling the paperwork or a clerical error or whatever allows these individuals to be free to harm other people. Yeah, exactly. PKC. Less than a year later, he was charged with violating his probation when he was allegedly discovered with a firearm. So less than a year later, he's walking around with a gun on probation. And I talked about this last night a little bit. But think about this. I've worked with probation, I've worked with parole, and pretty much they're all pretty much on the same wavelength. So I don't believe anywhere in the US a person on probation can be walking around with a firearm. So, you know, he definitely in violation of his court ordered probation. He should have been locked up, given a violation, and sent back to prison. That case had been expected to head to trial later this year, but it's unclear if Jake's current arrest might shift the timeline of those proceedings. Both Jake and Rebecca maintained their innocence, and neither has a lawyer. And they do, as we read earlier, um, they do have court-appointed lawyers. I don't know how they do things in California, but in Texas, that stuff moved kind of quick. They don't mess around with a probation violation or a parole violation. I mean, that stuff moved pretty damn quick. They don't mess around, I promise you. I mean, he would have been on the next bus back to prison. So it's just terrible that the legal system failed these young children like that and leaves these individuals out to harm, maim, and kill them. Don't get me started on just the children. They do the same thing to women in domestic violence situations. And you say, well, the woman should be able to just leave that situation. But it's not that easy. Imagine having a significant other who not only abuses your child, but abuses you as well. You don't necessarily want to leave that child in that predicament. So you stay to protect the child. And that is a fine line. I don't know where you stand on that, but that is a fine line. Because a lot of people say, I would just leave and I would take the children with me. But as we have heard with a lot of these individuals, you may leave, but you're not taking their children. Or you might not be leaving, and next thing you know, you've gone missing. They can't find you, you know? And that's terrible to think about, Taylor. I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm sorry that you went through that. A lot of people don't understand it. And there's people that have started to even say that Rebecca might have feared for her life if she didn't go along with this story. PKC says, I heard a prosecutor earlier. She figured no one looked A medical report, defense, prosecution, or judge. That's interesting factual stuff right there. You know, just the fact of hearing another human being talk about a child just like littering on the highway. Supposedly they were driving down the highway next to a road that led off to some water, and they disposed of the body somewhere around that area, supposedly. So to think about that, you're riding down the highway and you stop and you throw the baby out and you keep going. You know, think about that a minute. How evil is that? And for the mother to be in the car. Let's leave Jake out of this for a second. Let's just focus on the mom. How the hell could she be any kind of mom and allow this to go on to her 7-month-old child? Tell me that. Tell me that. And we have a grandma. Let me see if I can find that video. The state she didn't even ever met the. She didn't ever meet Emmanuel. I don't know how true that is, but I'm gonna play Cinema Shogun's stuff. This is his other page. It's called Fat and Opinionated. Let's see if I can find, I guess, the mother's or the grandmother's interviews on his other channel. But we'll play this one that you're talking about, Taylor. The one about Costco. And this is Cinema Shogun. If you haven't been to his channel, go give him a like, subscribe. And we will start with where he talks about the parents. Let's go right here. And here we go.
Her shoulders are held high. She looks like a woman who still has her guards up. She looks like she kind of has an attitude, like she doesn't want to be there, like she's almost, keeping up the act. She doesn't look like someone who is mourning her son. She doesn't look like someone who has confessed and is feeling guilty now. Look at her really quickly and then look at Jake, and you tell me the difference that you see. Because the difference that I see is that Jake's shoulders are lowered. Jake is leaning back. Jake looks relaxed. Okay? Jake looks like a weight has already been somewhat lifted off of his shoulders. A weight that has not been lifted off of Rebecca's shoulders yet. And we know that as of right now, Rebecca's sticking to her original story. We don't know exactly what Jake is saying, but the fact that Jake was out there searching for Emmanuel with law enforcement, that tells you a lot. We know that he's talking to the cops. And I wonder if Rebecca knows that yet.
I mean, that's terrible that she has no kind of empathy when it comes to this child.
So this new detail is changing how a lot of people are looking at the case. But here's what sticks out to me. Because if you look through the paperwork and stuff that was released today, law enforcement made it clear in the paperwork that they believe that whatever happened to Emmanuel happened between August 5th and August 14th. That tells us that law enforcement believes that whatever happened to Emmanuel happened as far back as August 5th. Now, I thought that it could have even happened before then. But law enforcement on the official page.
Okay, this statement said the undersigned, under penalty of perjury, upon the information and belief, declared that above defendant Jake Harrow, Rebecca Harrow committed a violation. This is what I read earlier, where they committed murder and in the state of California, and they filed a false report. I did find the grandmother's video.
For an entire 9 days to pinpoint when they think the exact time is that they did whatever they did to Emmanuel. Now, if this turns out to be true, and Emmanuel was seen alive at Costco on the 10th, then that means that law enforcement gets to shorten that window by 5 days.
Okay, so if he was seen at Costco, then it's shortened by 5 days. So that's what he's saying. Like, he could have been without the child as of August 5th.
And that is huge. I'm sure law enforcement would love that. Investigators would love that. If they could narrow down that window from 9 days to 4 days, that would be a big help to them. And that would change how they approach this case, how they're looking into this case. That may blow some of their prior theories out of the water. And maybe they could narrow in on certain locations that they want to go to. Maybe they could find certain evidence that links back to those dates. So any piece of information we get, that could help law enforcement narrow down this window.
So there was the aspect of him being at Costco, and she was seen at the pawn shop on the 3rd. So you can't tell me that they're not piecing this stuff together piece by piece. And this is the part that says about the grandma. It says Rebecca was hiding him. Grandma never saw Emmanuel Harrow in person. Once again, this is on the tierra, or on the ground. And he's going to talk to the grandma. It says, our sources confirm with us that the grandmother, Mary Bushausen, is being looked at by investigators, and potential charges may be coming for her on the tierra. Here we go.
The grandmother has now entered the chat here along the property line in Cabazon, and so you can see that everything that we have led up to this point has panned out. All of our sources has been correct. Everything that we have put out, although it has not been verified by sources, it has been proven right on the tira. And so grandmother not wanting to talk now, and so little Emmanuel still missing. Little Emmanuel still missing, homie. You can see the grandmother exiting her car there now on the tira. Our heart, thoughts, prayers here in Cabazon, California. We are here as a...
I believe that this guy broke the story with the house burning across the street. So, yeah, that would be fun, Kels. We should try that. We could talk about it in Discord.
As
he broke
a
the story.
ray of hope to hopefully add more coverage and have more people commenting and trying to piece this together. If the parents don't want to talk, we'll speak for little Emmanuel, homie, on the tira. And so from Cabazon, Ahmed Belloso, now back to you on the tira. Spencer, homie. Spencer on the tira.
There's so many updates in the Emmanuel Harrow case, but still to this day, we don't know when's the last time Emmanuel was even seen alive. And the only hope that we had for that question to be answered has now just flown straight out the window. And I'm going to get into those details in just a moment. But first, do me a huge favor. If you
So, I mean, there's the grandma. And I believe that she never met the child. How could the child be 7 months old and the grandmother never have met him?
shall we? So On the Tiro was on a live stream last night, and he said something that really stuck out to me because this is really weird. He claims that the grandma that's been all over the news, we've seen the grandma multiple times. He claims that she never even met Emmanuel. The grandma has never physically in person laid eyes on Emmanuel.
How the hell is that possible? Tell me. Any grandmothers in the chat? How could you have a grandchild and never physically have laid eyes on that child? How is that possible? Yeah, she lived in the same town. I was under the impression that this grandmother lived with Jake and Rebecca. I might be wrong, but I remember them talking about the grandmother leaving the residence. So I don't know if the grandmother lived in that house with them. If so, how weird is that? You know what I mean? It's like, how could you not have met your grandchild? Even if you didn't live in the same town, how could you have not met your grandchild? How is that possible? That is wild to me.
Saw her grandson even once. Yet she was talking like, she was an expert on how great of a mother Rebecca was, and that they loved the child and all of this and that. Meanwhile, she never even saw the baby. And that was a devastating piece of information to find out, at least for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, that was a devastating piece of information to find out. Because, like, the only hope I was holding on to was that we could figure out when's the last time Emmanuel was seen alive. We could figure that out from the grandma, maybe, possibly. Not that we could trust anything that she says.
So now we don't even have that. We don't even have proof that the grandmother has even met the child, supposedly, according to this gentleman. So how wild is that in so many ways? The child goes missing. He's presumed dead. And the grandma has never met him. Never. How does that make any sense to anyone? And I'm going to play a short video that I made today. Like it says, Baby Emmanuel and more. So here is the more. Hopefully people like this video. If you didn't watch it, I'm about to show it to you. It's going to be talking about Brian Koberger. And this is the special housing unit. Not necessarily just talking about the ones in Idaho, but we're going to be talking about just a special housing unit. So here we go.
A. Solitary confinement of prisoners goes by a number of names. Isolation, SHU, special housing units, administrative segregation, supermax prisons, the whole, MCU, management control units, CMU, communications management units, STGMU, Security Threat Group Management Units, voluntary or involuntary protective custody, special needs units, or permanent lockdown. Although solitary confinement conditions vary from state to state and among correctional facilities, systematic policies and conditions include confinement behind a solid steel door for 22 to 24 hours a day, severely limited contact with other human beings, infrequent phone calls and rare non-contact family visits, extremely limited access to rehabilitative or educational programming.
Savage's voice. He would just say, Diaz, like good morning to everybody. And his voice was so deep and so crazy, it was just demonic. And this I didn't see who Casper, what he looked like for 8 months. Then when I finally saw him, I was shocked. He was fucking white. But then I thought about it, and Casper fit. You know, the homies make their names fit the way they look. They're always good at that shit. But after the homie roll call is when the white boys do their roll call. We call out to our people. We say good morning. We give the notification that we're up and we're programming, because you have to be up programming even if that cell fucking door ain't opening. Next, you'll go take your showers around 3:34. At some places, depending on what tier you're on, you're either going early shower or later shower. At this time, I was on the bottom tier, and they would switch off morning, night, whatever. So then you would have your breakfast. You start getting ready for yard. Every fucking time you go out to yard in the shoe, you're bringing something you shouldn't be bringing. You're hooping something. And he's always playing sleight of hand with the cops when they're stripping us out, because you're coming out your cell and you're in the shoe. You always have to cuff up through the tray slot. So you walk backwards up to the shit. You strip out, you show them your butthole, you show them everything. They make sure you ain't got shit on you, and then they cuff you up, your hands through the tray slot. Now we bring a braided rope out with us to do pull-ups in the corner of the cage, and we would be doing shitloads of burpees out on the yard. We would fucking always be so military and fucking so fucking just straight militant that when it's called the hard and soft count. So when I'm doing my burpees, I'm going 1, 2, 3, and then my celly's got the hard count. 1, 1, 2, 3. My celly's got the hard count. 2, and we're going up. By the time we get to 23, that's our number. We always yell out supreme white power. I'm not the racist motherfucker. This is how it is in prison. I'm not racist at all. You get down with your people. I'm fucking telling you, this is how it is. You're not going against it. Done. We're done with that shit. No more racist shit. This is how prison is. Understand the California prison system. Understand who people are when they're in there. And that's how it is. You're not going to fucking against it. I've seen some of the craziest fucking shit in the shoe. And one of the craziest shits I've ever fucking seen was when we had just went out to yard. We come back, and one of the blacks who never goes out to yard, he's been in there 4 fucking years, Boo Boo from Compton. He fucking gassed this bitch, Miss Miller, the CO. I don't like that word, bitch, my bad. But anyways, he gassed Miss Miller. He had a bunch of shit and piss in a bag, and when she came in up to the tray side, he squirted it in her face and shit. That was one of the sickest things I seen, because they took him out the cell and they beat the motherfucking shit out this fool.
Q. How many people are in solitary confinement in the U.S.? A. There are more than 80,000 men, women.
That is a picture of the Idaho State Corrections Unit. This looks like one of the areas where they're let out to be able to exercise in this little area, possibly do push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, whatever they want to do. And there's another area where they're let out as well.
Women and children in solitary confinement in prisons across the United States, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. Note that figure is a decade old and doesn't include people in jails, juvenile facilities, and immigrant detention centers. Nearly every state uses some form of solitary confinement, but there's no federal reporting system that tracks how many people are isolated at any given time. Prisoners are often confined for months or even years, with some spending more than 25 years in segregated prison settings. As with the overall prison population, people of color are disproportionately represented in isolation units. Q. Why are people placed in solitary confinement? A. Prisoners can be placed in isolation for many reasons, from serious infractions, such as fighting with another inmate, to minor ones, like talking back to a guard or getting caught with a pack of cigarettes. Other times, prisoners are thrown into solitary confinement for not breaking any rules at all. Prisons have used solitary confinement as a tool to manage gangs, isolating people for simply talking to a suspected gang member. Prisons have also used solitary confinement as retribution for political activism. Locked in windowless cells for as much as 23 hours each day, inmates held in solitary confinement have little to no interaction with their fellow prisoners or guards. Access to mail and medical care is limited, and access to phone calls can be non-existent. Few prison systems use the term solitary confinement, instead referring to prison segregation or placement in restrictive housing. Some systems make a distinction between various reasons for solitary confinement. Disciplinary segregation, or punitive segregation, is time spent in solitary as punishment for violating prison rules, and usually lasts from several weeks to several years. Administrative segregation relies on a system of classification rather than actual behavior, and often constitutes a permanent or indefinite placement, extending from years to decades. Involuntary protective custody is especially common among children held in adult prisons, LGBTQ individuals, and other vulnerable populations who purportedly are placed in isolation for their own safety. Whatever the terminology, the practice entails a deliberate effort to limit social contact for a determinate or indeterminate period of time. The places where people are held in isolation also go by various names. In California, long-term solitary confinement units are referred to as security housing units, SHUs. In New York, the same acronym stands for special housing units. In Oregon, long-term isolation units are called intensive management units, IMUs, while in Pennsylvania, they are restricted housing units, RHUs. In the federal system, one type of solitary confinement takes place in special management units, SMUs, and another in communications management units, CMUs. What all share are conditions of extreme isolation and sensory deprivation within a small, confined space, alone or, in limited cases, with a cellmate. For those who endure it, life in solitary confinement means living in a cell for up to 24 hours a day. People held in disciplinary segregation in federal prisons, for example, typically spend 2 days a week entirely in isolation and 23 hours a day in their cells during the remaining 5 days, when they are allotted 1 hour for exercise. Exercise usually takes place alone in an exercise room or a fenced or walled dog run. Some individuals in solitary are escorted, usually in shackles, to the shower, while others have showers within their cells. They may or may not be allowed to leave their cells for visits or to make telephone calls. Solitary confinement cells generally measure from 6 times 9 to 8 times 10 feet. Some have bars, but most have solid metal doors. Meals generally come through slots in the doors, as do any communications with prison staff. Within these cells, people live lives of enforced idleness. They are often denied the opportunity to work or attend prison programming, and are sometimes banned from having radios, art supplies, and even reading materials in their cells. People held at Pelican Bay State Prison in Northern California have been described as living in a, quote, small cement prison cell. Everything is gray concrete: the bed, the walls, the unmovable stool. Everything except the combination stainless steel sink and toilet. You can't move more than 8 feet in one direction. William Blake, who spent 34 years in solitary confinement.
I don't know about you, but that would drive me insane. Go from one of these solitary cells out to another cage and then back again. You wouldn't have any kind of freedom whatsoever. And I understand it. I understand why. But still, doesn't make it enjoyable to say the least. I don't know if Koberger's going to make it out of this. I really don't think he will. I mean, all the people that are proclaiming his innocence just like he's going to trial tomorrow or something, they don't realize that this is where their boy is tonight, living in one of these cells, being talked to like trash, being heckled and spit out, and all that. You know, it's not a good thing, I guess. But you don't want to go in a place like this. I guess you follow the law.
In New York before he was transferred to the general prison population in 2021, described his environment in solitary as follows. Life in the box.
Well, he's running out of time, Walt. He really is. His appeal date is September 3rd, I think, next week. So he is running out of time. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Is about an austere sameness that makes it difficult to tell one day from 1,000 others.
Murphy should be in prison. He has the key to all the crime, I'm sure. Yeah, he has about a week left.
Nothing much and nothing new ever happened to tell you if it's a Monday or a Friday, March or September, 1987 or 2012. I've seen and felt hope becoming like a foggy, ephemeral thing, hard to get a hold of, even harder to keep a hold of as the years and then decades disappeared while I stayed trapped in the emptiness of the shoe world. Here is a general look at the life Brian Koberger is experiencing. This is a true crime podcast for those on the run. Short, sweet, and to the point. Hope you guys enjoy the content that 12 Gauge Investigative puts out. If so, like, subscribe, and share. Be safe and watch your six.
All right. So that was a quick little doozy. And if you haven't noticed, I've been doing a lot of those lately. Very quick ones. Because, sometimes people, they don't want to sit through hours and hours of stuff. You know what I mean? They want the information short and sweet and to the point. To the point. You know? Yeah, I guess the exoneration's out the window. You sure right. I guess their boy isn't getting out anytime soon. The paperwork doesn't show enough discrepancy to harbor a new trial. Their expert didn't swoop in to save the day. The fact that we didn't get a trial, I don't feel cheated. Especially with all the stuff that's coming out. I don't feel cheated at all because it all kind of makes sense to me. But, you know, to his own. He probably has in Texas. He says he probably hasn't been out of his house yet. Probably not. People are probably tormenting him right now. Can you imagine sitting in there and hearing all that? Hour by hour by hour by hour. Especially if you lived a life of solitude, that you weren't around a lot of people other than school and creeping around stalking people, I mean, it has to put a crimp in your style. You don't get to creep on young girls anymore. You don't get to drive around in your Elantra for hours creeping at people. I mean, what a change of lifestyle. As long as the black, green Elantra, cougar, and wide mouth tailpipe is all true, Brian might walk out of prison next week. Sure right, Walt. Earlier I was watching two attorneys argue the BK case. It was hilarious. Yeah, it's comical to say the least at this point, PKC. It really is. That would be like arguing something that's already been decided. It's like arguing the Super Bowl when Tom Brady, if Tom Brady was still playing, won his ninth Super Bowl, arguing about bringing up all the statistics and everything. If this would have happened, Tom Brady wouldn't have won that Super Bowl. He cheated. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like one of those arguments, you know? How many days left to appeal? He has till September 3rd to appeal. And then that's out the window. I know my name's not Walot, but, you know, I saw the comment and thought I'd answer. You know what's interesting in this case is whenever you hear the other side discuss certain things about the case, they always had this date. Well, when this hearing comes up, that's going to set him free. They're going to see the indiscrepancies, and the judge is going to set him free. When this hearing comes up, it's going to be the suppression hearing. It's going to be the limine hearing. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. You know, those hearings came and went, just like Brian in and out of his jumpsuit into his real world clothes. Now back to a cell, confined to only the thoughts in his brain that he's incapable of running from. No more stalking, no more killing. Just a lifetime of endless regret. And at the end of the story, he was not the smartest man in the room. Too bad. So sad. But not. Well, if you've enjoyed what I presented tonight, as well as what I present on a daily, please be sure to go hit the like button. Let me know you were here at least. Like, share, and subscribe. And come on into the chat. We'd love to have you. As you can see, the chatters are not viciously tongued. They have some coos about them. They have some etiquette. They're able to carry on an adult conversation without blocking you if you have a change or a difference of opinion. So, next time I'm live, come on in. We'll save you a seat. Until then, my name is 12 Gage, and this is my channel, 12 Gage Investigative. Stay safe out there, and watch your six. Maestro, cue that music.
Ready, set, go!
Gage Investigative, the best true crime channel out there.
I'm a true crime channel.
12 Gage Investigators is the best.
12 Gage Investigators the best.
12 Gage Investigators, he's the best.
Prince George's County 911 Center. What is the location of the emergency?
Across 4709 40th Avenue.
You say
it's a fire, and it's catching fast.
4709?
Yeah, 4709.
Okay, what city is that, ma'am?
Hyattsville, sorry.
And what's your name?
We take on the darkness, stare down deceit. Murder in the headlines, justice in the beat. From cold case whispers to killers in disguise, we rip off the mask, expose all the lies. Facts like bullets we load and deliver. Truth cuts deep like a blade in a river. Corruption shakes when the mic goes live. We dig where others won't survive. Keeps rolling through the smoke. Truth hits hard, no time for a joke. Deceit, murder, we name every name. No restraint, no shame, just flame.
12 Gage Investigator is the best.
When you're in Foley, come get your hair cut where 12 gets his at Nick's Barbershop. 12 Gage is the best. We love you.
12 Gage Investigative is the best.